When the name Abdelilah Benkirane is mentioned, two contradictory images cross the Moroccan mind: that of a popular leader who simplified his language to reach the ordinary citizen, and that of a head of government accused of entrenching austerity policies and burdening the middle and lower classes with severe economic hardship. Between religion and politics, between preaching and power, between spontaneous oratory and decisive policy-making, Benkirane carved out an unconventional political path marked by clashes and transformations. He rose from being a physics teacher shaping generations to a political actor who led the first experience of an Islamist party in government in modern Moroccan history. In this video, we will dive into the details of Benkirane's life, not merely to recount milestones, but to unravel a complex personality that has sparked both admiration and resentment. We will uncover the intricacies of a man who has remained at the heart of Morocco's political debate for decades. So stay with us until the end, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to get all the latest updates. Abdelilah Benkirane was born on April 2, 1954, in the Akari district, one of the historic popular neighborhoods of Morocco's capital, Rabat. He belongs to a family of Fez origin, known for its conservative Sufi orientation. His father was not only a distinguished merchant in the local market, but also a prominent spiritual and intellectual figure within the community where Benkirane grew up. Raised in an environment that blended religious traditions with intellectual values, young Abdelilah's awareness was deeply shaped from an early age. He memorized parts of the Quran in the traditional kutub before continuing his education in Rabat's public schools. By the late 1970s, he had completed his university studies at the Faculty of Sciences, earning a bachelor's degree in physics. This qualification enabled him to pursue an academic path, working as a professor at the Higher School of Teachers in Rabat. Yet, alongside this scientific background, Benkirane's intellectual curiosity and passion for social and political issues constantly pushed him to seek a deeper role in public life. He began gravitating toward political engagement, a turning point that launched a career spanning both politics and Islamic thought. This dual foundation, rooted in scientific knowledge and practical experience in teaching and politics, allowed him to build a strong base for the path he would later follow. During the 1970s, Abdelilah Benkirane went through a profound intellectual transformation, moving from leftist leanings to embracing the conservative Islamic current. As a young man, Benkirane was involved in radical leftist circles, showing sympathy toward the March 23rd movement and the National Union of Popular Forces, both of which were key platforms of social and political opposition in Morocco. But the 1975 assassination of Omar Ben Jelloun, one of the most prominent socialist leaders, a crime in which the leftist movement itself was accused, marked a turning point in Benkirane's intellectual and political journey. The incident left him deeply shaken on both moral and ideological levels, pushing him to reassess his positions and political affiliations. Gradually, he distanced himself from the left and turned toward the Islamic current, which at the time was becoming more organized and increasingly influential in Morocco's political landscape. In 1976, Benkirane joined the Islamic youth organization Al-Shabiba al-Islamiyah, a movement that aimed to guide young people toward religious and political activism within an Islamic framework. During this period, he quickly rose through its ranks thanks to his organizational and intellectual abilities, soon becoming one of the most prominent figures in the Islamic movement. However, Benkirane eventually clashed with the group's leadership, especially with its founder, Abdelkrim Mouti. Their disagreements were not merely administrative, but reflected deeper ideological and strategic divides about how Islamic political activism should be conducted in Morocco. By 1981, these tensions led Benkirane and a group of his companions to break away from the organization. Together, they helped establish the Islamic group, Al-Jama'a al-Islamiyya, which sought to rebuild the Islamic movement on new foundations, more open, less secretive, and ready to operate within the public sphere. Benkirane played a central role in leading this group, dedicating his efforts to moving it from clandestine activism into the realm of legal, transparent political engagement. This shift reflected a pragmatic political awareness that recognized the importance of balance with Morocco's existing political system, in which the king holds the title of Commander of the Faithful. In line with this vision, the group changed its name in 1988 to the Movement for Reform and Renewal, Harakat al-Islah wa al-Tajdid, after Moroccan authorities rejected the original name. This change was not merely cosmetic. It carried strategic implications, symbolizing adaptation to Morocco's political realities and reaffirming loyalty to the monarchy, considered the cornerstone of the state's stability. As Morocco gradually began opening the political sphere to Islamist movements, Abdelilah Benkirane emerged as a political actor determined to move the Islamic project, long confined to religious preaching and organizational work within unrecognized groups, into the arena of formal political institutions. In this context, Benkirane initiated important negotiations with Dr. Abdelkrim al-Khatib, one of the prominent founders of the constitutional and democratic popular movement. His goal was to build a bridge linking members of the movement for unity and reform, to which he belonged, with this party. This step was effectively an attempt to integrate Islamist forces into legal political life and to fully open the doors of democratic participation. In 1998, the party was officially renamed the Justice and Development Party, PJD, a name that would embody the identity of Morocco's Islamist political current for decades to come. On a personal level, Benkirane consolidated a solid base of political and popular support after being elected as a member of parliament for the city of Saleh in 1997. This marked the beginning of a long parliamentary career that would span multiple terms. His gradual rise through the ranks of the party and the political establishment gave him a deep understanding of Morocco's political balances, an experience that later prepared him to lead the party. In July 2008, Benkirane succeeded in winning the position of Secretary General of the Justice and Development Party, defeating prominent rivals such as Sadeddine El Othmani and Abdellah Baha. This victory confirmed his leadership within the Islamist movement and solidified his place as one of the most prominent figures in its political project. It wasn't long before a pivotal moment arrived. The Arab Spring, whose echoes reached Morocco, accelerated the pace of political reform, particularly with the adoption of the 2011 Constitution, which, for the first time, granted the right to appoint the head of government to the party that won parliamentary elections. Amid this transformation, the Justice and Development Party achieved a sweeping electoral victory in the November 25, 2011 elections. On November 29th of the same year, Benkirane was appointed head of government, ushering in a new era in Moroccan politics as the first Islamist leader to hold the post in the country's history. During his term from 2011 to 2016, Benkirane faced enormous challenges in managing deep-rooted economic and social crises. Among them were the reform of the compensation fund, which required reducing subsidies on basic goods, and the pension reform issue, which sparked widespread public protests. In addition, he confronted internal pressures from trade unions and external demands from international institutions such as the IMF. This forced him into a delicate balancing act between economic necessity and popular discontent. His government carried out painful reforms that strained the purchasing power of the most vulnerable groups, undermining his party's popularity, despite the belief that such measures were unavoidable. And while his first government achieved relative success in navigating these challenges, Benkirane failed to form his second government after the 2016 elections due to complex political deadlocks. Stalled coalition talks led to a major political crisis. In April 2017, King Mohammed VI decided to relieve him of the task of forming a new government, appointing his former rival Sadeddin el-Othmani as his successor. After a period away from the political forefront, October 2021 witnessed the strong return of Abdelilah Benkirane to the leadership of the Justice and Development Party. He was elected by an overwhelming majority during the party's National Congress, a move that came as a direct response to the party's crushing defeat in the 2021 parliamentary elections. This comeback was not merely about regaining a leadership position. It represented a serious attempt to rebuild the party's internal structure, which had suffered significant blows in terms of both public trust and organizational cohesion. Benkirane's return carried a clear message: the urgent need to fix the party's internal dysfunctions, to repair its broken ties with its grassroots supporters, and to redesign its political and communication strategies so that the PJD could once again assert itself powerfully in Morocco's political arena. In this phase, his political discourse became sharp and uncompromising. He repeatedly stressed his rejection of political alliances that he considered unjustified concessions, adopting a firm stance against any attempts to negotiate or compromise with the ruling establishment. He affirmed that the next stage would require a clear political confrontation, without bargaining away principles. Benkirane's style in this period was marked by boldness and candor, relying on a spontaneous and direct approach that blended populist expression with political intensity. This made his words resonate strongly with segments of society, particularly the middle and lower classes who were enduring harsh socio-economic conditions under the current government. Yet, this outspoken and unfiltered style also became a source of criticism from his opponents. At times, it was turned against him, as he was accused of inconsistency and contradiction, especially when comparing his current opposition rhetoric with the positions he once took as head of government. Among the most controversial issues was the special pension he received after leaving office. Critics denounced it as a form of political privilege, granted simply for holding the position. Benkirane, however, defended the pension as a legitimate and lawful entitlement for his service as head of government, insisting that it fell within the legal and institutional framework of the country. The relationship between Abdelilah Benkirane and Morocco's monarchy stands as one of the most defining complexities of the country's political scene. It is marked by a cautious balance between explicit loyalty and constructive criticism, reflecting both the particularities of Morocco's constitutional monarchy and the unique role of the head of government within this system. Benkirane never concealed his deep loyalty to King Mohammed VI. On more than one occasion, he described himself as an official working under the command of the king, affirming his respect for the central role of the monarchy in safeguarding the stability of the state and protecting the nation's interests. Yet, such loyalty did not translate into total submission or the abandonment of his own political vision. Benkirane consistently sought to expand the powers of the government he led in order to advance political, economic, and social reforms he deemed necessary. Although subtle tensions and differences of opinion sometimes surfaced, Benkirane remained convinced that genuine reform in Morocco could only be achieved from within the framework of the monarchy. To him, the monarchy was not simply an executive institution, but rather a reformist authority that ensures balance among political forces and preserves the state's stability. This vision aligned with the king's own discourse, which repeatedly acknowledged the role of the Justice and Development Party under Benkirane's leadership. Several royal statements reflected respect for Benkirane, even when political disagreements arose. Thus, the relationship between Benkirane and the monarchy was not one of confrontation, but of a cooperative dynamic anchored in Morocco's political rules of the game, which require respect for institutions and balance of powers. One of the most controversial moments in the history of the Justice and Development Party was its decision to host Mauritanian preacher Mohamed Al-Hassan Ould Al-Dadou at its National Congress. Ould Al-Dadou is a figure known for his support of the Polisario Front and his rejection of Morocco's sovereignty over the Sahara. The invitation sparked a major uproar across Morocco's political scene. It was widely seen as a direct provocation of national sentiment, angering political actors and the general public alike, especially given the sensitivity of the national cause regarding Morocco's territorial integrity. Faced with these criticisms, Abdelilah Benkirane, the party's Secretary-General, neither issued an apology nor offered an explanation to public opinion. Instead, he resorted once again to his familiar rhetoric of victimhood, accusing what he called the deep state of seeking to target and constrain his party. This narrative was not new. Benkirane had repeatedly used it to explain both his political setbacks and the crises confronting his party. The controversy unfolded at a time when Morocco was experiencing economic and social tensions, marked by rising prices and the erosion of purchasing power. This only increased the importance of the party's public image and its ability to manage crises and communicate effectively with citizens. While Benkirane continues to position himself as a reformist leader defending the rights of the oppressed, the decision to host such a contentious figure as Ould Al-Dadou raised serious questions about the alignment between the party's choices and Morocco's national sentiment. As a result, Benkirane's reliance on a discourse rooted in victimhood and populism now faces significant challenges, especially in a context where Moroccan society has become more politically aware and more cautious toward promises from leaders who have previously shouldered responsibility for painful decisions. This reality makes the 2026 elections a decisive battle. Benkirane will attempt to restore his political shine, relying on old strategies within a new political and social environment shaped by past experiences and present debates. The party now stands at a critical crossroads between continuity or decline. In the end, Abdelilah Benkirane remains a unique figure in Morocco's political landscape. He has combined preaching and politics, ambition and setbacks, presenting a complex model of how political Islam interacts with the monarchy. Whatever one's opinion of him may be, his experience is inseparable from the history of contemporary Morocco, and it offers an essential case study for understanding the evolution of national politics and the delicate balance between religion and power. This brings us to the end of the video. Don't miss the chance to follow more stories, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all new content.